Your phone lights up. It's a message from your parent. "I'm in so much pain. Doctor said it's serious. I thought you should know in case something happens." In an instant, your nervous system shifts. Your chest tightens. Your stomach drops. Your mind starts racing through worst-case scenarios. You picture them alone, fragile, maybe on a hospital bed. And before you can even think, the old script wakes up inside you. Drop everything, fix it, be the good child, no matter what it costs you. And if you don't respond immediately, the second wave hits. "I guess you're too busy. I didn't want to bother you. Forget I said anything. I know you have your own life now." On the surface, it looks like concern, longing, vulnerability. Underneath, something else is happening. Tonight, I want to talk to you about one of the most painful, confusing stages of narcissistic family dynamics. What happens when a narcissistic parent begins to age, becomes ill, or claims illness, and uses that season of life to pull you back into a role you've worked so hard to escape. This is not about ignoring genuine illness. It's not about turning your back on a parent who truly needs medical care. You already take those things seriously. That's part of who you are. This is about the way illness, pain, and aging can be turned into emotional currency. About how your empathy and fear of regret can be weaponized. And about how you can offer what is right without surrendering your sanity, your body, and your life to the same cycle that almost destroyed you once before. Let's start with something your body already knows. Notice what happens in you when they say, "I'm not feeling well." Do you actually feel concern or a sharp spike of panic and guilt? Do you immediately imagine a future where everyone says you abandoned your sick parent and you carry that story forever? Do you suddenly feel 5 years old again, standing in a hallway, being told, "If anything happens to me, it will be your fault"? This is not just about their health. It's about a complex that lives in your nervous system. Carl Jung used the word complex to describe emotional knots in the psyche, clusters of memory, fear, belief, and bodily reactions that get activated all at once. For the adult child of a narcissistic parent, illness is often tangled with childhood roles. You may have learned early, if I'm not taking care of them, I'm bad. If they're upset, it's my job to fix it. If they cry, I must be the cause. So now, decades later, their health scare doesn't land in you-like information. It lands like a command. Come back. Drop everything. Prove you're not a monster. That's the first piece to understand. Your reaction is not proof that you're obligated. It's proof that an old pattern is still alive. Think back to how sickness was handled in your family. Maybe your parent turned every cold into a crisis. Maybe they collapsed dramatically at the slightest stress. Maybe they spoke often about what will happen to me when I'm older, not as a practical question, but as a test of your loyalty. Illness becomes a stage. Pain becomes a microphone. You are cast as the only audience that matters. In a healthy family, aging and illness are shared realities. People talk about logistics, care, finances, limits. There is sadness, yes, but also planning, boundaries, and respect for everyone's life. In a narcissistic system, aging is often used as leverage. I'm old, you know. I won't be around forever. No one else helps me. You'll feel so guilty when I'm gone. Notice the pattern. The focus is not on their medical plan, their doctor, their support network. The focus is on you, on your imagined future regret, on your fear of being seen as ungrateful or cruel. This is where Jung's idea of the shadow becomes important. The shadow is everything we've been forced to exile in ourselves. For many adult children of narcissists, the shadow contains the part of you that says no, the part of you that doesn't want to go, the part of you that feels anger when they message at midnight demanding attention, the part of you that is tired of being the only responsible one. When your parent says, "I'm sick, I need you," and something in you silently whispers, "I don't want to go," you may feel instant shame. How could I think that? Am I heartless? What kind of person hesitates when their parent is ill? But that voice isn't heartless. It's honest. It remembers the years when their illness meant you canceled your own plans, missed your own life, and sat beside someone who never truly saw you. It remembers how many times crisis magically faded once you complied. The narcissistic parent often has two faces around illness. One is the helpless, vulnerable, frightened parent who has no one but you. The other is the critical, controlling figure who, even from a hospital bed, still comments on your weight, your clothing, your life choices, who still punishes you with silence if you don't respond fast enough. That's the first red flag of manipulation. Their illness doesn't soften how they treat you. It simply gives them a new stage from which to continue the same dynamics. So how do you tell the difference between real care and a guilt hook? Start by asking different questions. Instead of asking, "Am I a bad person for not rushing over?" Ask, "What are they actually asking me to do? Does what they want match what's medically necessary? Is anyone else involved? Doctors, nurses, siblings, other support? Or am I being told I'm the only one who can save them?" Every time there's a health scare, does it end in a practical plan or in me apologizing for not doing enough? Genuine illness can absolutely coexist with manipulation. Someone can truly be sick and still use that sickness to control. The narcissistic parent's greatest fear is not necessarily dying alone. It's losing the sense of centrality, of having everyone orbit them, even in their decline. They are terrified of becoming ordinary, of being just another elderly person with a doctor's appointment and a care plan. They want drama. They want a story in which they are the tragic lead, and you're the child who either redeems or betrays them. So health scares become episodes. The sudden, dramatic phone call, the vague, terrifying language, "It might be cancer." The doctor is very concerned. The refusal to share clear information. "You wouldn't understand. You'd only worry." You are left with just enough to panic, but not enough to act rationally. From Jung's perspective, this kind of drama feeds the parent's ego. It keeps them in the center of the family myth. It protects them from confronting their own shadow, the loneliness created by their own behavior, the relationships they damaged, the trust they broke. It is easier to say, "My children abandoned me in my illness," than to say, "I made myself so unsafe that my children had to limit contact to survive." Now, here is where it becomes incredibly painful for you. You carry two fears at once. The first is the old childhood fear. If I don't show up, I am the bad, ungrateful child. The second is a very adult fear. If I show up like before, I will lose myself again. I will get sick. My body will collapse. My life will disappear into their crisis. You are standing between two possible losses: the loss of yourself or the loss of your image as the dutiful child. Your nervous system feels this as pure threat. So how do you step out of this double bind? The first step is making a quiet inner distinction. I'm allowed to care about their health without abandoning myself. That means you're allowed to ask questions instead of automatically obeying panic. You are allowed to say, "Who is your doctor? What exactly did they say?" You're allowed to say, "I'll call the clinic and get more information." You're allowed to involve other people, siblings, relatives, professionals. You're allowed to offer help in specific, contained ways instead of surrendering your entire life. I can come on Sunday for 2 hours. I can arrange a car service to your appointment. I can speak to the doctor on the phone, but I can't be available day and night. Watch their reaction. A parent who is truly focused on their health and survival will welcome realistic support. They may be scared, they may be emotional, but they will engage with specifics. A narcissistic parent whose primary goal is control will often become furious, wounded, or theatrically disappointed. "You're limiting me when I could be dying. So that's what I mean to you now. I knew you would abandon me when I needed you." In that moment, your inner child flinches. You may feel an urge to apologize and overgive to make the guilt go away. But pause. Ask yourself, are they upset because I don't care or because I won't collapse? This is where individuation, in Jung's sense, becomes very real. Individuation is the process of becoming a whole person separate from the roles you were assigned. For the adult child of a narcissist, individuation often looks like this. You stop being the medication. You stop being the nurse, therapist, priest, and emotional garbage disposal. You become a son or daughter with limits, a human being whose life is not a service station. Individuation is not cold-heartedness. It is the refusal to sacrifice your soul to keep a system comfortable. There may come a day when you stand in a hospital room with them, machines beeping, air heavy with disinfectant. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they're still sharp-tongued. Maybe they're suddenly sentimental after years of distance. In that room, you're confronted with two truths at once: the frail, aging body in front of you, and the years of cruelty, manipulation, or neglect behind you. Part of you may want to rewrite the entire story in that moment. To say, it wasn't that bad. I was overreacting. Look how small they are now. Another part of you may feel numb, or even angry that they're still somehow pulling energy from you. Even here, your task is not to choose one truth and erase the other. Your task is to hold both. This is a human being who is vulnerable, aging, and mortal. This is also the person whose behavior made it unsafe for me to be close. Both are true. You can act from your values without lying to yourself about the past. You may choose to visit. You may choose to send money. You may choose to stay in contact with clear limits. Or you may choose distance, especially if their behavior remains abusive. There is no single right answer that fits every story. But there is one deeply wrong answer: returning to the old role where your body, your mind, and your life are collateral damage. If you notice that after every interaction you can't sleep, your chest is tight, your digestion collapses, you spiral into self-hatred, that is information. Your body is not disloyal. It is reporting reality. Jung believed the psyche strives for balance. When one part of us has been overrun, when duty, guilt, and obedience have ruled everything, another part will eventually rise to restore equilibrium. That rising part might sound like this: I will not spend the last decades of my life reliving my first 2 decades. I can care from a distance. I can allow life and death to be larger than my ability to control. You're not abandoning them to punishment. You're recognizing that you're not a god. You cannot fix the entire arc of their life by answering every late-night message. You can, however, refuse to be dragged back into the same psychological swamp that almost drowned you. So what does it look like, practically, to help without re-entering the old role? It might look like you redirect dramatic messages toward professionals. If you're feeling that unwell, we should call your doctor or emergency services. Have you done that? You let silence be their responsibility, not your panic. When they stonewall after you set a limit, you don't chase. You don't send 10 follow-up messages explaining your love. You let them sit with their own feelings. You create a simple internal rule: I do not make life-altering decisions while I am in a guilt spiral. You wait. You breathe. You sleep on it. If after your nervous system has calmed, you still feel called to act, you choose consciously, not reactively. You also begin to reparent the part of you that is terrified of regret. That part imagines the funeral. It imagines relatives whispering about you. It imagines looking at a coffin and hearing their voice in your head. You were never there for me. Instead of arguing with that fear, sit beside it. Say to yourself, if I show up as a martyr, I will regret that too. If I destroy my health to prove I was loyal, my future self will also suffer. Regret cannot be completely avoided. It can only be traded. The question becomes, when you meet yourself 10 years from now, which regret are you more willing to carry? I wish I had done even more, even if it meant losing myself again. Or, I wish things could have been different with them, but I'm grateful I did not abandon myself. One regret keeps you trapped in a child's bargain. The other honors that you were never the one with all the power. Here is the quiet truth hiding beneath all the noise. Your parents' aging and illness do not suddenly rewrite the history of who they have been. Their fragility does not automatically make you the villain. And your boundaries are not a sign that you lack love. They're the sign that you have finally started including yourself in what love is allowed to protect. You can feel grief without sacrificing yourself. You can feel sorrow for their loneliness without filling it with your life. You can feel compassion for their pain without becoming the painkiller. The season of their aging will bring up everything that was never healed, never spoken, never acknowledged. It will tempt you to make one last giant sacrifice to prove that you were never the ungrateful one. You don't have to take that bait. You are allowed to offer what is sustainable, honest, and safe for you. You're allowed to say yes in small, precise ways. You're allowed to say no and live. In the end, the question is not, did I give them everything they wanted? The question is, did I live this one life in a way that was true to my soul? You have already spent years being the emergency room for other people's choices. You are allowed, now, to let life be what it is, to let doctors doctor, to let systems do their part, and to step out of the illusion that your total self-sacrifice is the only thing standing between them and oblivion. You were never meant to be their cure. You were meant to become yourself.